Welcome to Pushback. I'm Aaron Maté. In recent years, Israel has developed closer ties with the Gulf monarchies as their mutual interests increasingly intertwine. Well, there are new signs of deepening relations. The Wall Street Journal reports that Israel and the UAE have held secret meetings in recent months to share information and coordinate efforts against Iran. Joining me now is Asad AbuKhalil. He's professor of political science at California State University. Welcome, Professor AbuKhalil. What do you make of these secret talks being reported between the UAE and Israel?
The story of Gulf relationship with the state of Israel are not new at all. And in fact, we can say that Israel, since its founding, has invested heavily in Arab despot. Israel has known that democratization of the Arab world is going to be very threatening to its own interest. Israel can only maintain relations with despot, not with the free will of the Arab people. Look what happened in Egypt in 2011. As soon as the people were able to free themselves of the yoke of the Egyptian despot, they stormed the Israeli embassy. And that's the free feeling of the people of Egypt, despite long years of a heavily financed Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty. Relationship between Gulf despots and Israel are not new at all. They go back all the way to the 1960s, and even further earlier with the right-wing forces inside Lebanon, the Phalange death squads, notorious during the Lebanese civil war for starting and prolonging and committing the most massacres of the war in Lebanon. Gulf countries cooperated with Israel in the war in Yemen, not this one only, but the one in 1960s, because back then they were trying to exhaust and fatigue the forces of Nasser, the progressive leader of Egypt at the time. And they were on the side of the monarchist, reactionary, misogynistic forces that were supplied and supported by Saudi Arabia. They also collaborated together in Black September. They supported the Jordanian despot against the Palestinian resistance movement. They also, and this is not widely known, supported the Omani dictator in the 1970s during the progressive revolt of the people in Zufar in Oman. So this is not new. This is what's new now, Aaron. One, Netanyahu likes to brag about these relationships because he wants to present himself as the leader who broke new grounds. In reality, these are not new grounds as much as they are public grounds. The second reason is Gulf countries used to maintain these relationships on a very secret level. They were too afraid of their people from announcing them. Now they feel they have kept a very tight control of their population, that the brutal regimes are feeling comfortable, confident enough to allow leaks about these new relations. And the Gulf despots also like to leak some of these news in order to ingratiate themselves with the Israeli lobby on Capitol Hill. That's why more is now being known about them, including the last meetings between UAE and Israel. It's just not really as new as it is. The depth of these relationships is the new story. The fact that they are now buying equipment and weapons from Israel and even funding Israeli projects, and no doubt that the Gulf adventures in Yemen, this brutal war on Yemen, is in many ways, Israel is a party to that conflict.
Right, you mentioned the purchase of equipment between Israel and the UAE. There was recently a report in Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, saying that an Israeli businessman had helped broker a deal that saw spy planes being sold to the UAE, which were then used to spy on Iran. And
Right.
On that note, what is the mutual Israeli Gulf interest when it comes to confronting Iran? This report of this Israel-UAE meeting talks about them sharing information about Iran.
Well, I mean, for the Gulf regimes, they worry the most about the stability of the regime, which are very precarious because they are only kept there by virtue of US support. The only American leader who's ever been honest about that mutual agreement with the Gulf regime has been Trump. I mean, he said it very bluntly. If it wasn't for US support, these despots would have been overthrown many years ago during Nasser's time during the Cold War. Just like the Israelis and the Americans saved the king of Jordan from downfall in 1970 during Black September. The mutual interests between the regimes extend far beyond opposition to Iran. They both have interest, first and foremost, in preventing democratization of the region. This is why Israel has been a major element in the Arab counter-revolutionary forces. And notice, the New York Times has said it among other Western media. When Mubarak was tottering, the phone calls that were lobbying the US government, not that it needed lobbying, the Obama administration, whereby Netanyahu and the King of Saudi Arabia, those two were the loudest and more enthusiastic champions of Mubarak to the very end. And let us be fair here, Obama stood with the dictatorships of Tunisia and Egypt to the very end. To be fair, Obama called on the Tunisian dictator to give up power only after his private jet Tunisian airspace.
And speaking of Israel being at the forefront of pushing back against democracy in Arab countries, this includes, of course, the occupied territories, which it's occupied for over 50 years, and even when it allowed elections in the
even before
Palestinian
that, 1948. To
Right.
remember 1948 part, yeah.
But even when it allowed elections in the Palestinian Authority, when Hamas won the elections there, of course, what did it do with the U.S.? It
Right.
basically waged a coup in Gaza, or a coup attempt in Gaza,
Right.
in an attempt to undo the results of what Palestinians voted for.
You're absolutely right. So we should amend the statement by saying United States and Israel oppose democratization and elections throughout the region, with the few exceptions when the results of an election could be prearranged beforehand by the United States. And this is true in the 2009 election, which America rushed to do in order to take advantage of the climate in Lebanon, or 2005 and so on. But yeah, overall, it's true. Yeah, those two countries are, America and Israel cannot prevail in the region in the absence of the prevalence of despotic regimes throughout. That's why they have invested heavily in them.
Let me just go to a clip here on this note. This is Hillary Clinton speaking about the Palestinian elections, expressing regret that the U.S. let the Palestinians vote.
Troubled me deeply. I do not think we should have pushed for an election in the Palestinian territories. I think that was a big mistake. And if we were going to push for an election, then we should have made sure that we did something to determine who was going to win.
So that was Hillary Clinton speaking with regret that the U.S. allowed the Palestinians to have a vote in Gaza because it didn't go the way the U.S. wanted. Professor AbuKhalil, final comment as we wrap.
Well, I just worry that Hillary may now claim that this clip you just played, which is valid and authentic, was in fact deformed by the Russian intelligence service in order to undermine her chances for winning re-election.
Fair enough. Professor Asad AbuKhalil, Professor of Political Science at California State University, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay.